can't go. You got to go someplace else. Bloods, you got to go someplace else. So as a Centennial was kind of a melting pot for all of them. I don't know if they had many Crips Bloods at Locke. The Centennial had Crips from different sectors. They had Carver Park. They had some cats from the front hood, and they had PlRUS, and they had not Nickerson Garden neighborhoods, and then they had guys from Eugene Village. So it was always a mixture of folks at Centennial. I'm not sure about the population demographics at Locke, but I know a lot of Crips went to Locke.
Compton had a bunch of public pools back then. Campanella, Looters, Gonzalez, Mona. Did you ever go to any of the public pools back then?
Hell no! You get your ass drowned. Or walk out there something naked. No. Only pool I really hung out in was I would go to Campanella because I played baseball at Campanella. And I'd play baseball I hung out in Ansons. I learned to swim in Ansons Park. And so we had a little pass to go over there. But even then, I was a junior buster back then. So, you got your pockets padded no matter where you went. You got your pockets padded. It might cost you $0.25 not to get your ass whooped, and you might get your ass whooped anyway. I never had a real problem at the park. At Campanella, never had a problem at Campanella. And most of my neighborhood guys would hang out at Ansons Park. And if they weren't there, somebody knew me. So I never had any real problems at Ansons Park either.
Back in your time, now in hindsight, we know where to go and where not to go if we're familiar with the city, but were there in general some parks that people knew not to go to in the 70s? Maybe they had a tougher reputation than any other parks in Compton?
Looters was probably one of the worst. Looters and Kelly.
To this day.
Looters and Kelly was probably the one that I'm good. I'm good. Okay. Both of them have changed tremendously over the years, but just those names, man. In certain generations, Looters is like, nah, man, I'm good. It was one of them. I was one of the few parks in Compton. I never went to none of the dances. I'd go to Gonzalez Park dances. I'd go to Campanella Park dances. I didn't go to Looters. Nah, y'all dance your ass off. Tell me about it at school.
Yeah, I hear you on that. That. What do you know, if you do, about, because a lot of the gangs in Compton, they came around in the early 80s. What do you know, if you do, about how they started setting up at the parks? Were they called something? Do you remember any, before Crips and Blood came along, PlRUS, did you remember like any other names, like the such and such boys or the East Side thises or that's?
Nah, by the time, you gotta understand, when I was in junior high school, gangbanging just started fresh. You was pretty much what you was gonna be. It wasn't a lot of conversions. They had some guys like the AP Ansons Park boys. They were Ansons Park boys for years, and then they joined. They became Bloods. But you had Miller Gangsters. The Miller Gangsters and the APBs always got into it. But here's another headache. They all came to Eve After Dark. They all came to Eve After Dark. The Anthons, Millers, Jima Village, Nickerson Gardens, and who else? 135s, Straight Outta Compton. All of them came to Eve After Dark for the most part and got along. And then you had some Crips come over there from time to time. Snake Puppy tells this story right to this day, how I saved his ass at Eve After Dark, because he says I walked him out to his car or something like that. Because he was obviously, Snake Puppy looked like a Crip. I don't know why. I don't know how the Crip looked like, but he just looked like he don't belong in the red team. Tall, slim. He just had he had that gangster white look. And he always got jammed. I don't think he ever got beat up, but I made sure he didn't have a problem. And this was before World Class Wrecking Crew or the LA Dream Team. He tells a story about him walking from him in Egypt, walking from his neighborhood over to Eve After Dark, and not having any real problems. They got jammed up a little taste, but because I had a little pull, I saved his life.
Easy. All right, so 1972 was Watt Stacks, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So 1972, young Lonzo, what are you listening to that summer? You can remember kind of specifically what was popping and how were you listening to it? Meaning, did you listen to most of your stuff on the radio? Did you listen to most of your stuff on LP? Talk to us about 1972, if you remember that summer specifically.
1972, I think we had just got introduced to 8-tracks. We had just got introduced to 8-tracks because before 8-tracks, most people won't remember this. And we had 4 tracks. Before we had 8 tracks, we had 4 tracks. And a 4-track, the difference between a 4-track and an 8-track is that a 4-track had the ball popped out of the machine and turned the tape around. The 8-track had the ball built in already. And I had 4 tracks in my little old hoopties, whatever the case may be, and I'd buy them from the swap meet. And next time I saw 4 tracks was at K-Day. K-Day, they call them carts at K-Day. Same thing as the 4-track, they call them cart machines, and that's how they play commercials back in the day at K-Day and most radio stations with a cart machine. But 8-tracks came out. 8-tracks never did cross over to radio. 8-tracks never did make it to radio. But as far as cars go, first we had little record players in the car. Record players with color bars. Okay, they had little flashing colors and shit go to the music. And then we had the 4-track. Then we got the 8-tracks, and then the 8-tracks also would have a little flash to the music and shit, and light your car up. Oh, Nick, bro, we parking lot pimping like it was nobody's business. You didn't want to go into the party because your car was so pretty. You did not want to go into you would sit in the parking lot and have them. Don't get me started on the cars, man. You got your wheel wells lit up with the little tail lights. It came in blue, green, and red. And you had the little bird on the hood, the bird on the front of your hood, light that lit up, and all the bird and the lights was all the same color. And your speakers, you wasn't bumping because they didn't have real sounds back then. But if you were smart, slick like me, you throw a house speaker in the back, get a little extra bump that nobody else had. Yeah. But I was jamming to staple singers, Dramatics, Barcades. Everybody that was on the Watt Stacks was on my playlist, dude. Everybody. Sly, rest in peace, Sly. All that.